President-elect Ramon Magsaysay in 1953 held so much promise. With his country only 7 years out of the war, Filipinos felt that he was the leader who truly represented the masses and would direct the country's growth. He was young, his energy was boundless, and his commitment to serve the people was unquestionable.
I believe that the President should set the example of a big heart, an honest mind, sound instincts, the virtue of healthy impatience, and an abiding love for the common man.
In Islam, the word Akhuwat means brotherliness. And in the words of the Prophet Muhammad, if one has a loaf of bread, half of it rightfully belongs to a person who has none. An innovative man used this purest of concept to achieve his vision of zero poverty. Thus was born Akhuwat Islamic Microfinance, Pakistan's largest microfinance institution. For the past 2 decades, it has provided zero-interest loans to over 3 million families, irrespective of their creed, caste, color, or gender. What began as a lending program has since expanded to a full-service institution that provides medical, financial, and psychosocial aid to the marginalized. Behind all these transformative programs is Dr. Muhammad AMJAD SAQIB, who is paving the way for the dream of poverty eradication in Pakistan. Through his greatness of spirit, he reminds the world what it truly means to be brothers.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. I'm extremely excited and delighted to receive Ramon Magsaysay Award for 2021. Apparently, this most prestigious award of Asia has been bestowed on me, but in fact, it belongs to the poor people of Pakistan who believe in solidarity, giving, sharing, who are trustworthy and who are creditworthy. This award is in fact for our whole nation, for Pakistan, and we assure the trustees of the foundation that we will continue our endeavors to alleviate poverty not only from the Asia but from throughout the world. Thank you very much.
The Ramon Magsaysay Transformative Leadership Institute online series featuring 2021 Ramon Magsaysay Awardee, Dr. Muhammad AMJAD SAQIB, will begin in a few minutes. We would like to remind the audience of the following. The video and audio functions of our audience will be disabled during the panel discussion. For questions, clarifications, and/or comments, we encourage everyone to use the Q&A tab in the Zoom webinar. Later on, we will open the chat room as well. We will try to address as many relevant questions and comments during the session. Please be always respectful in the chat room and the Q&A tab. We invite everyone to follow the Ramon Magsaysay Award on social media. You may find us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn, and YouTube. Thank you for joining us this afternoon. We now turn you over to Ramon Magsaysay Award Foundation President, Ms. Susan Afan.
Thank you very much, Kat. Good afternoon and welcome to the 2021 Ramon Magsaysay Transformative Leadership Institute online lecture series featuring 2021 Ramon Magsaysay Awardee, Dr. Muhammad AMJAD SAQIB. We are joined this afternoon by our esteemed Board of Trustees and our laureates, of course, but most especially, we want to acknowledge the presence of 2021 Ramon Magsaysay Awardee, Stephen Mansey. Steve, it's so nice to see you in the chat room. We are also joined this afternoon by other esteemed guests. His Excellency, Mr. Shaukat Tarin, Minister of Finance and Revenue, Government of Pakistan. His Excellency, the Philippine Ambassador to Pakistan, Mr. Daniel R. Espiritu. His Excellency, Dr. Imtiaz Ahmad Kazi, Pakistan Ambassador to the Philippines. Ms. Saadia Awan, Head Chancery of Pakistan Embassy in the Philippines. Of course, the Board of Directors of Akhuwat, welcome to all of you. Mr. Nasyith Majidi, Chairman of Dompet Duafa. Mr. Ahmad Juwaini, Director of Islamic Social Funds and Islamic Microfinance of the National Sharia Economic and Finance Committee. Mr. Kartiko Adi Wibowo, the Director of PBMT Institute. And we also have participants from various schools and institutions from the Philippines, Indonesia, Malaysia, India, China, Bangladesh, and Pakistan. I might not be able to mention you all, but if you are here, please name your organization in our chat box and we will be happy to acknowledge you later on in the program. But with us this afternoon would be the members of the British Council of Pakistan, Takmil Pakistan, the Asian Development Bank, representatives from the World Health Organization, Zulig Foundation, and microfinance institutions from Mindanao, Philippines. In continuing to recognize individuals and organizations who address social issues with extraordinary vigor, integrity, creativity, and selflessness, the Ramon Magsaysay Award Foundation seeks to honor the legacy of President Ramon Magsaysay and to place living examples of transformative leadership and inspiring service before the public. The 2021 Ramon Magsaysay awardees are living proof that, pandemic or not, compassion, moral integrity, and solutions can prevail. And that is why we have the Ramon Magsaysay Transformative Leadership Institute lecture series. It is the unique highlight of our celebration of greatness of spirit, where the public is given an opportunity to learn more about the amazing work and the transformative leadership journeys of the awardees directly from all of them. Moderating today's very special online lecture is Dr. Shelito Habito, or Shell, to the members of the ARMAF Board of Trustees. Dr. Habito comes with a doctorate in economics from Harvard University. He is currently an economics professor at the Ateneo de Manila University and the director of Ateneo Center for Economic Research and Development. He writes a weekly column called No Free Lunch in the Philippine Daily Inquirer. He was also the Philippines' chief economist for most of the 1990s, where he served in the cabinet of President Fidel V. Ramos. Ladies and gentlemen, may I now turn over the Zoom session to our moderator, Dr. Shell Habito.
Thank you so much, Susan, and good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for joining today's Ramon Magsaysay Transformative Leader Institute's online lecture. To give you a snapshot of today's proceedings, we will begin with the reason why we are all here. The online lecture presentation of our 2021 Ramon Magsaysay Awardee, Dr. Muhammad AMJAD SAQIB, on faith-based giving, Akhuwat's journey in changing lives. Immediately following the lecture presentation will be reaction from our invited panelists. I will then join them and the awardee in a panel discussion wherein they could discuss in detail the issues presented in the lecture. We will also be taking questions from the attendees in the webinar and from our live stream audience on Facebook and on YouTube during the Q&A portion. Before we listen to the talk of Dr. Saqib, let us all watch the documentary of Wall Street Journal about Akhuwat.
Saima Sheikh runs this school for poor children from a two-room apartment in Lahore. The 33-year-old mother is one of the thousands of Pakistani women who started small businesses with interest-free loans that abide by Islamic law or Sharia. In Islam, paying or charging interest is forbidden because it's believed to promote injustice and inequality in society. Islamic microfinance institutions provide loans through different arrangements that eliminate interest, such as profit and loss sharing or lending with small charges to cover administrative costs. Saima used microfinance outlet Akhuwat, which has provided Sharia-compliant financial services to more than 1 million poor households in Pakistan. Saima was 22 years old when she was married to her cousin by her parents. 2 years later, when she was pregnant with her second child, she says her husband abandoned her and her 1-year-old daughter.
Circumstances तो very worst थे. Being a mother, अब 2 बच्चों का साथ भी था मेरे, और बेटा जो था after 4 months deliver हुआ था, तो उसमें मेरे husband जब गए हैं मुझे छोड़ के, तो debt भी था, 80,000 का debt था, और बच्चे भी साथ थे, तो ये सारे circumstances मेरे हालात मेरे काबू से बिल्कुल बाहर थे.
After struggling to repay her debt with traditional microloans, Saima borrowed around $100 from Akhuwat to start Al Fatima Academy, a school for poor children in her neighborhood. Today, Saima is teaching English, mathematics and sciences to more than 40 students here.
Being a Muslim, हम शरीयत जो है ना हमें एक लिमिट देती है, उस दायरे के अंदर रहकर हमने अपनी लाइफ को स्पेंड करना है. मेरा तो ज़हन इस चीज़ पे मुतमईन होता है कि जो इस लिमिट में रह के काम किया जाए वो बेहतर है, जिससे अल्लाह और अल्लाह का रसूल खुश रहें, हमसे राज़ी रहें. जो सबसे मेन बात है इस लोन की, उसमें यह है कि ये विदाउट इंटरेस्ट है और कोई बैंक की कटौती नहीं होती है. जो इंश्योरेंस की फ़ीस ली जाती है, बाकी फ्रांसिस जो हैं उसमें 1500, 2000 लोन के हिसाब से चल रहा होता है. यहाँ बहुत कम इंश्योरेंस की फ़ीस ली जाती है. बस ये बहुत से फ़ायदे हैं. कराची, लाहौर, इस्लामाबाद, पेशावर, कोयटा and मुजफ्फराबाद.
With her monthly income of around $200, she's able to provide for her family. She also was able to borrow more money from Akhuwat.
जब मैं चलती हूँ मुझे बिल्कुल बड़ा फील कर रही होती हूँ कि मैं कुछ हूँ, मैं टीचर हूँ. ये मेरी पर्ची मैंने किस जमा करवानी है? 2050 में.
Microfinance companies, including Akhuwat, have seen increasing popularity in recent years. But the services they offer are still new and reach less than 20% of Pakistani families that need them. Akhuwat's interest-free model also makes it run a tight operation. Its average loan amount of 25,000 rupees or $240 is 30% smaller than some other microfinance organizations in Pakistan. The growth and sustainability of Akhuwat's Sharia-based microfinance model also depends on steady donations from both the state and the private sector, because the organization collects minimal fee from borrowers. Akhuwat charges a loan application fee of about $2 and a 1% insurance fee, which amounts to $2.30 for the average loan amount. It also encourages borrowers to donate money to help facilitate more loans.
If we want to upscale Sharia compliant finance, then the role of State Bank and role of the state are very, very critical. So without that, you cannot give a real impetus to this.
Pakistan's government is taking note. With a majority of Muslim population, the success of religious lending is expected to become bigger in the coming years.
मेरा नाम सिबिया बेगम है. मेरी उम्र 58 साल है. टेलरिंग का काम है. मैं सिलाई करती हूँ. उसी से मेरी गुजर बसर है. अल्हम्दुलिल्लाह मेरा बहुत अच्छा काम चलता है.
Ms. Begum borrowed around $300 this year to buy more cloth for her tailoring business. She says she will pay the remaining amount of $70 in the next 3 months.
तो वो सूद वाली में जितने भी मिल जाए तो उसमें बरकत तो कोई नहीं और ना मजा आता खर्च करने में. जिस भी मकसद के लिए लिया मेरा वो मकसद पूरा हुआ. मैंने अगर मकान के लिए लिया अल्हम्दुलिल्लाह मैं मकान छुड़ा सके इजीली.
Like Sabiha Begum, Akhuwat's trustworthy clients have already started receiving bigger loans. But once clients are successful in repaying a small loan, they start qualifying for bigger ones. Saima plans to apply for another loan from Akhuwat to buy more furniture and blackboards for her school. Out of the $400 she borrowed 5 months ago, she has already repaid $100. She says now she has also started helping others by donating some of her own money through Akhuwat.
इसका सिस्टम ये है कि हमने 5 रुपीस अपने जहन के मुताबिक डेली अपने सेविंग करनी है, तो ताकि हम भी कुछ ऐसा कंट्रीब्यूशन हमारा भी हो जाए कि चलो जो ये पैसे जा रहे हैं किसी और के भी काम आ जाए.
ladies and gentlemen, may I briefly introduce our 2021 Ramon Magsaysay Awardee, Dr. Muhammad AMJAD SAQIB. Muhammad AMJAD SAQIB, founder of Akhuwat, is a development practitioner, philanthropist, writer, and a former civil servant. Dr. Saqib's areas of expertise include poverty alleviation, microfinance, social mobilization, and education management. Besides his pro bono service to many public sector organizations, Dr. Saqib has been a consultant for international agencies, including the Asian Development Bank, International Labor Organization, UNICEF, and the World Bank. He is the author of 7 books, including The Story of Akhuwat, with a focus on development. He is a medical graduate from the King Edward Medical College in Pakistan and a recipient of the Hubert H. Humphrey Fellowship for a master's degree in public administration from the American University in Washington, USA. Ladies and gentlemen, I am pleased to present to you our Ramon Magsaysay Awardee for 2021, Dr. Muhammad AMJAD SAQIB. Good afternoon, Dr. Saqib.
Good afternoon, everybody. And Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Thank you very much for your kind introduction. And special thanks to Susan Affan and Ramon Magsaysay Foundation for selecting me and my country for this great honor. I hope I will continue the mission as envisaged by the late President Ramon Magsaysay, and we will together fight against poverty throughout the world.
Well, it was quite a pleasure, in fact, and we were very amazed at what you had done in Pakistan, Dr. Saqib. In fact, I must confess that for us economists, there is usually some measure of skepticism about loan programs that provide for subsidized or below market interest rate, and what more with zero interest. So we are, of course, aware that interest charges are not consistent with the Islamic faith. And so it was very interesting for us to learn from you of how you have made this model succeed at such a wide scale in your home country of Pakistan. And that's why many of us are so eager to hear your story, as there's so much you can teach us and the rest of Asia and the world on uplifting the lives of the poor through financial inclusion. So we are really so honored to have you.
Right? Yeah, this is a great honor and pleasure that the model which we showed captured your attention. And I have a great regard for the economists and the financial experts, but there are many ways to fight against poverty. And we also, as an entrepreneur, try to find a new way, a creative approach where we can serve the poor by engaging with them and by, having a relationship of brotherhood and friendship.
Well, you're so right. We economists actually have a lot to learn from non-economists and other disciplines indeed, because in fact, there are so many things that we are unable to factor into our equations and economic models. So again, thank you for educating us and of course the rest of our audience today. And we have well over 100 listening to you today, Dr. Saqib. So we look forward to your talk. Well, in fact, let me indicate that to ensure that we do not experience any technical difficulties on Dr. Saqib's talk, we have pre-recorded his lecture. So let us now watch his talk.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Ladies and gentlemen, let me first thank and appreciate Ramon Magsaysay Foundation for bestowing this coveted and unique award. I am highly honored and humbled to receive this honor, which I truly believe belongs to the great people of Pakistan. Today, for this lecture, the topic that I have been assigned is Faith-Inspired Giving, Akhuwat's Journey in Changing Lives. Before talking about Akhuwat and giving its detail, let me narrate you a story. It is a story of a woman who met me in 2001. I was sitting in my office. Suddenly there is a knock at the door. The door opens and enters a lady with tears in her eyes. She was in a distressful condition, but she managed to sit on a chair in front of me. I asked her, "What can I do for you?" She said that she had lost her husband a few days ago. "I have 4 children," she said, "and now I am worried about their future. We have nothing to feed them at the night." Despite this, she said that I am not a beggar. I don't believe in charity. I am here to seek your help, but I won't take any money free. Would you give me a loan? A loan of 10,000 rupees, which was at that point of time around $100. I will buy 2 sewing machines with this loan, work hard, and then out of the income of these machines, I will be able to sustain my family. I am poor, but I have self-respect. This was very unique for me, that somebody in such a difficult condition still believes not in taking charity or doles, but in her hard work. We managed to gather $100, presented to her. She went away with a promise that she will return this money after 6 months. Though she promised, but I didn't believe her. So soon, I forgot this story. But that great lady didn't forget it. Exactly after 6 months, she was again back. Knocking at the door, opening the door, enters again, but this time there were no tears in her eyes. She was brimming with hope and confidence. She was smiling. She sat on the same chair in front of me and said that, "You might be thinking that I won't come back, but I'm here. I'm a trustworthy woman. I believe in hard work." Then she told me that out of the $100 which I gave to her, she purchased, as per her promise, 2 sewing machines, worked so hard that she was able to earn a lot of money and sustain her family. And she was able to send her 2 kids to school as well. She was also able to marry one of her daughters out of the income from those sewing machines. This story was so inspiring. She put her wallet on my table, opened it, and then took out $100 out of it, returned it to me. While returning, she gave me a message, a very humbling and a unique message. She said that this $100 is a blessed money. It has changed my life. Don't put this money back into your pocket. Give it to somebody else. I'm sure whomsoever you will give this money will undergo the same spiritual experience. He will be out of poverty, and he will one day return this money back to you. So this was a unique message, a unique moment. I was bewildered. And then I thought that if we have many such $100, we can support many such families who are poor but are trustworthy, who are poor but have self-respect, who are poor but who believe in hard work and moving ahead in life. This was the story which inspired us to adopt the path of Akhuwat. This is the beginning. The story inspired us to design a program of interest-free lending. We studied the current models in vogue and found many of issues and challenges. If you allow me to narrate, first of all, high cost. The conventional microfinance, no doubt, provides loans to the poor people to start their businesses, but it has service charges which range from 20%, 30%, 40%, or even 60 to 70% in some cases. The next issue was religious reasons. Majority of the people in Pakistan are Muslims, and they don't prefer to indulge in riba or interest. So as this money is riba or interest, so this was contrary to their faith and they wanted to avoid it. The third challenge which came to our knowledge was the exclusive focus on women and group lending. There is no harm. Women should be preferred, but why not the men should be deprived of this opportunity? And why only group lending is needed? Why can't we give these loans on an individual basis? The fourth challenge was this whole paradigm of microfinance was initiated by non-government organizations, but gradually this was termed as an industry, as a business, and was taken over by the banks. So the compassionate dimension was eliminated and a business-like approach emerged. No doubt people continue to get small loans to come out of poverty and start their businesses, but with heavy charges and with heavy markup. So this was another thing that the whole concept which was designed on helping people gradually turned over into business. So the next thing we noticed that once a borrower remained always a borrower. We wanted that a borrower must come out of poverty and must be able to help somebody else. So this is the whole philosophy which I will slightly explain, that this Akhuwat means brotherhood, and a brotherhood which establishes a bond of relationship between haves and have-nots. The haves provide loans to the have-nots. Have-nots use those loans and give back. And in this journey, or giving back this amount, they also donate something more than that, something over and above the loan. So we wanted people to become donors once they are coming out of poverty. And the next issue for us was that poverty is not only economic. Poverty is a multi-dimensional concept. It is social, it is political, it is educational. Anybody who doesn't have self-respect, anybody who doesn't enjoy equal political rights, anybody who doesn't have a roof on his or her head. So we wanted to design a program which not only gives loans, but also addresses other dimensions of poverty. So these were different issues and challenges which helped us to design a different program. Hence, an institution is born which is named as Akhuwat, with a vision of a poverty-free society built on the principles of compassion and equity. Our mission is to alleviate poverty by empowering socially and economically marginalized segments of society through interest-free microfinance and education. What are our distinguishing features? How are we different from conventional microfinance? And how does faith plays its role in poverty alleviation? Number one, Qarz-e-Hasan or benevolent loan. The interest-free loan which we give to the poor, in our language we called it Qarz-e-Hasan, and in English if it is translated, it is a benevolent loan, a loan which is given free of any markup or any interest. The next feature is intermediation through religious places. Using religious spaces such as mosques, churches, and temples for the disbursement of loan and providing social guidance to the poor people. Why religious places? Because as a student of international development, I believe that we can't achieve the objectives of development unless we utilize indigenous places. So the religious places offer transparency, participation, accountability. Hence, we utilize these places where people come together, sit together, talk together, and there was a efficiency in the program, there was less cost, and there was more sacredness. The third principle which we adopted, we name it spirit of volunteerism. In fact, through this program, not only providing financial access, we wanted to develop a culture of volunteerism so that we can minimize our operational cost. Currently, we have more than 3,500 employees, but there are equally good number of volunteers who don't charge anything, who work with us, who train our employees, who train our borrowers, who work for the promotion of this concept. So this is a blend of necessary compensation and volunteerism. The fourth distinguishing feature is converting our borrowers into donors. When we give a loan to somebody, we tell him that, look, today you are taking a loan. But in you, we see somebody who is giving loans to others one day. So this is how we help him to restore his dignity and promote reciprocity. So 60% of our borrowers which take loan from us, they are now donors as well. So in this way, this has not been confined only to a microfinance program, but it is an effort to build the society through mutual support and reciprocity. Fifth principle is non-discrimination. We derive inspiration from the Islamic spirit of solidarity or mawakhat, but we work for the whole mankind. There is absolute no discrimination on the basis of caste, color, creed, or faith. We work in mosques, we work in churches, we work in temples. So we are absolutely not bothered that which faith or which political affiliation or which creed one belongs to, as long as he is willing to come out of poverty, as long as he is not compromising his self-respect, and as long as he is committing to return the money back so that it could be revolved, we will serve him. Next feature is the inclusive approach. Inclusive in the sense that the most marginalized are usually ignored. The people living in periphery, they are usually ignored. The transgenders, the scheduled castes, the people living in far-flung rural areas. So we try to begin social inclusion, political inclusion, and financial inclusion. And the last point is creation of a virtuous cycle, reciprocity. You know, there exists a vicious cycle, but we would like to create parallel, a virtuous cycle, so that if somebody does good with me, I should do something good with somebody else, and he would do something good with somebody else. So hence, this will be a cycle of virtue. So if there is a vicious cycle, we cannot change the society, we cannot eliminate poverty, we cannot eliminate exploitation until and unless we are able to create simultaneous virtuous cycle. So ladies and gentlemen, these are the four fundamental distinguishing features which helped us to create this program, and all these features we built by learning the issues and the challenges which I have mentioned earlier. So let me slightly explain how does this whole model works. We have created a pool of money through donations. Every civil society organization or individual donor, our public sector, our private sector, our corporate sector, who believes in sharing their resources, they give us donations. 10% of these donations are shifted to the operational pool, and 90% is utilized for putting it into revolving fund, which is used to give loans to the poor people. So the basic thing is this assumption that there is large number of people who are willing to give and donate, and that money, partial of that amount, which is 10%, is utilized to meet the operational expenses, and 90% it becomes the part of revolving fund, which is used to give loans to the poor people. So they return back this amount, because since last 21 years, our recovery percentage is 99.9%. So this is again a virtuous cycle which I have been mentioned. They give it back and we find new borrowers. What have been we able to do so far? 4.9 million loans, approximately 4 million families, which means more than 20 million people. The amount which we have disbursed is more than 150 billion Pakistani rupees. The recovery percentage is 99.9. We work through 827 branches throughout Pakistan. 58% of our borrowers are male and 42% of our borrowers are female. In fact, we give loan to a family and then allow the family that whosoever has the expertise may start a business. And 42% female have started businesses with that money. Currently, we have 800,000 plus active loans and 21 billion rupees is outstanding. And as I mentioned earlier, 3,500 most committed staff who believe in the spirit of giving, who believe in the spirit of sharing, and who believe in the spirit of establishing a bond of solidarity with the have-nots. They don't go and they don't tell people that we are here to give you loans. They tell people that we are here to establish a bond of brotherhood or sisterhood with you. You are now part of Akhuwat family, and we will give you loan, you will do business, and so you will be able to share your resources with others as well. Besides microfinance, we have also adopted microfinance plus approach. We have educational services. We have established the biggest clothes bank of the country. We have health services. We have a program for the rehabilitation of most marginalized transgenders. And we have also a food bank through which we serve the extreme poor with good quality food. But most important of these is Akhuwat Educational Services, where we have establishing a university which will not charge any fee. This will be a long-term benevolent loan. The students will take their education today. They will not pay anything, but they will pay their fee after 10 years or 20 years so that somebody else could benefit and study. So this is a long-term Qarz-e-Hasan. Our previous program was a short-term Qarz-e-Hasan, a short-term benevolent loan to start an enterprise or a business. But this is to get higher education, get education today and pay tomorrow. This is our slogan. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for being so attentive. Let me conclude by saying that we follow the philosophy of brotherhood as taught by our holy prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, and all other religions and all other ethical and moral philosophies. We serve by using interest-free or benevolent loan as a tool. We are creating, in fact, a bond of solidarity between the haves and have-nots, assuring the poor that they are not alone in their struggle to come out of poverty. Let me reiterate that we, along with many other people, have a different dream. We are endeavoring to create a new world, a world where we share our resources, a world where we care for the less advantaged, And in this way, we are creating and nurturing a better world based on mutual support system, a world which provides opportunity and happiness to everyone, irrespective of caste, color, or creed. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Saqib, for inspiring all of us with your first-hand account of how Akhuwat has uplifted countless lives through your unique twist on microfinance with faith-based giving. I think it's quite remarkable that from the experience with one woman, it has blossomed into this very large organization and, in fact, service for the Pakistani citizens that is truly helping uplift a lot of lives. And by the way, I must say that I'm heartened by one fact that you pointed out, that actually the greater number of the numbers are men, because we commonly hear that microfinance programs are much more successful because it's women who are driving it. But at least there's still hope for men, shown by your experience, that even with the majority of men borrowers, you do get the 99.9% repayment rates. So indeed, with your approach, we are challenged to look at development through a fresh new lens that helps truly promote an inclusive society and economy. Well, at this point, I would like to introduce our panelists who will help us reflect and amplify on Dr. Saqib's work and his life journey. Our first panelist is Madam Rini Suprihartanti. Ibu Rini is a practitioner of Islamic philanthropy, especially in zakat management, with more than 25 years of experience. She has dedicated herself to work in social and humanitarian fields through expertise in management systems, program innovation, finance and accounting of zakat, social entrepreneurship, and Islamic microfinance. At present, Ibu Rini serves as vice chair at the National Amil Zakat Agency, or Baznas, of Jakarta province. Previously, she worked at Dompet Duafa, a leading nonprofit organization in Indonesia that promotes human dignity to help the underprivileged by utilizing zakat, alms, and waqf funds since 1995. She has been with Dompet Duafa for more than 20 years, where she held various positions, such as Director of Grant, Director of Finance and Operation, Director of Relief and Empowerment, Director of Social Business Development, and her last position there was Director of Islamic Microfinance Development. Our second panelist is someone I had been associated with since about 2 decades ago in an idealistic movement of Filipinos under 50 called the Philippine Forum, described then as the successor generation of movers and shakers in Philippine society. I refer to Father Carmelo, or Tito Kaluwag. Father Tito, as we fondly call him, started teaching in 1980 at the Ateneo de Manila High School. He entered the Society of Jesus in 1983 and was ordained priest in 1993. After completing his master's, he worked in the Ateneo de Manila University from 1995 to 2005, where he held various positions such as high school principal, grade school headmaster, the first basic education director, vice president for planning and development, and alumni affairs. Father Tito left the Ateneo de Manila University in 2005, and in 2006 requested to be released from the Society of Jesus in order to do full-time work with public schools and part-time work with the ABS-CBN broadcast network. He continues to work as chaplain of the ABS-CBN and is vice president for academic affairs and formation of the Magna Anima Teachers College. He is incardinated in the Diocese of Novaliches and is assigned as parochial vicar of the Good Shepherd Cathedral. He is also the priest director of the Diocese's Special Commission on Advocacy Programs. He works as the coordinator of the Building Networks of Compassion program and the Catholic Bishops' Conference of the Philippines National Secretariat for Social Action, also known as Caritas Philippines. And I must mention that My wife Pilar and I have lately been praying with him daily, almost 7 days a week, in his TV Mass every morning. So we will begin with Madam Rini. Madam Rini, Ibu Rini, the spotlight is yours.
Yes. Thank you, Dr. Sen. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. First, I'd like to thank you to Ramon Magsaysay Award Foundation for continuing to give award for everybody who make changing in the world, just like Dr. AMJAD SAQIB. And Assalamualaikum, Dr. AMJAD SAQIB. Congratulations for your award from the Ramon Magsaysay Award Foundation. I'm very happy that you want to be one of awardee. I and my friend in Indonesia have discussed your model a lot after you received this award. And I also read your profile and Akhuwat in one of the leading national newspaper just a few days ago. So I think many Indonesians hopefully will be inspired by you and Akhuwat. And talking about faith-based giving and microfinance, as Dr. AMJAD and Akhuwat did, is very interesting, both in terms of how to raise funds or how to distribute and manage them. In 2021, World Giving Index shows Indonesia is the most generous country in the world. Recent results state that more than 8 in 10 Indonesians donated money this year, and the country's rate of volunteering is more than 3 times the global average. There are a set of drivers that are contributing to this generosity, but the main factor in Indonesia is religion or faith as a driver for giving. As you may know, in Islam, there is an obligation to pay zakat for those who already met certain limit of wealth and conditions, and it's suggested for everyone to donate voluntarily through infaq and alms, as well as wakaf or endowment funds. Reports suggest that zakat payment globally were particularly high even in 2020 and 2021 as a response to the pandemic. In Indonesia, there were calls from Indonesian religion authorities for people to use such payment to help people in their communities who were experiencing hardship as a result of the economic slump because of pandemic. According to the data from Basnas, in 2021, current zakat donation are about 12 trillion, or it's about 850 billion US dollar. And from the national zakat statistical data, it is known that the average increase in collection is 34% per year, and the average amount of distribution is 32% per year. The number of beneficiaries reached an average of almost 11 million people every year. So, zakat infak sodaqah management has been able to significantly contribute to assisting in poverty alleviation in Indonesia through various program approach. And from this data, the experience presented by Dr. AMJAD shows that faith-based giving is very capable and has the potential to be managed and can contribute in helping to solve the problem of poverty. Driving donates because of religious guidance, good and contemplative management, the impact of changes that can be felt and seen are factors that make people continue to donate. Religion is a matter of belief, and belief can be the biggest motivating factor to keep donating, contributing, and sharing. And as part of the pillars of Islamic social finance, the Sharia microfinance sector in Indonesia also continues to grow. We have an approach in delivering Sharia microfinance model called BMT, or Baitul Mal wa Tamwil. Baitul Mal function as a social function, managing zakat infak sodaqah funds from the community and members, and Baitul Tamwil function as microfinance function with business contracts. Baitul Mal and Baitul Tamwil are two functions in one institution. These two functions try to be carried out in balanced way, although most of them are more developed in their way to Tamil. If we refer to Dr. Saqib's chart, it serves to support 40% who are less of affluent and Baitu Tamil plays in a role in being able to serve on the Islamic microfinance side. The basic concept of Baitu Tamil is actually not starting with how to financing, but how people have a habit of saving. Because it is believed that to refers to confidence of the poor, one of them is by saving. When they have savings, will increase their dignity. And of course, in the BMT also, just like Akhuwat, there is a brotherhood between members, between also between management and each of other. I just present a model of faith-based giving approach and microfinance just to reinforce that Dr. AMJAD was delivering faith-based giving and microfinance make an excellent combination in poverty alleviation. Faith-based and giving and the faith-based and organization values that I see in the Akhuwat model and Indonesian model have been a tremendous force. And one of the strong keys to success in general is the principle of inclusiveness that contributes to wide impact on society. It sounds like Dr. AMJAD want to say that poverty has no religion. So everyone, all parties are encouraged to contribute and invited to poverty alleviation for a better world. Okay, that's all. Thank you, Ramon Magsaysay Award Foundation and Dr. AMJAD for providing new inspiration for all of us. Thank you, Dr. Shail. Back to you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Ibu Rini, for that. So may we now call on Father Tito for your own insights regarding Dr. Saqib's talk. Father Tito.
Thank you, Dr. Shell, and thank you, Susan, for inviting. Thank you, Dr. Saqib. I must say that your work is impressive, but more than impressive, I think it's very inspiring. And I just want to share that I think there are many parallels in the work that you do and in the work that we want to do with the Philippine Church. You know? Well, certainly our social context is very much parallel. It's really, I guess it's a question of the development model also that we want to look at. And we're very impressed that the model that you look at is really development from below. No? It's really getting the sentiments and then the actual experiences of people from below rather than from the top. You know, I'm sure that you know this more than I do, being an expert in development. The book Why Nations Fail has said that a lot of the development projects fail because the ones who are supposed to benefit from the development are not consulted. No? And your model most certainly doesn't only consult them, but it makes them set the agenda. And the second point as a parallel is that the holistic model that you have in your work. No? Of course, the other parallel is the faith context. No? As we look at what you presented, you know, I cannot help but think of the three elements in the Catholic faith or in the Christian faith. Number one is the social teachings of the church, which from the beginning has emphasized a preferential option for the poor, and also a concern to address development and social issues on a societal or institutional level. And it's very interesting because I think very few people realize that as early as the 4th or 5th century, that what we call the early church fathers of the church already said that, and let me quote just two particular lines. You know, this one is from the 4th century, from Saint Ambrose. He said, "You are not making a gift of what is yours to the poor, but what you are giving back is what is theirs. You have been appropriating things that are meant to be for the common use of everyone." And from the 5th century, from St. John Chrysostom, he said, "Not sharing your goods with the poor means robbing them and depriving them of their life. What we possess is not ours, but theirs." So this is 4th and 5th century. And of course, most recently, Pope Francis himself has been very, very strong in terms of the preferential option for the poor. In fact, in one of his recent statements, he stated that making the poor a priority isn't political, but it is at the heart of the gospel. And he has emphasized, since the start of his papacy almost 10 years ago, the need for compassion, solidarity, and ultimately fraternity, which is what you call as the brotherhood. And of course, one of the things that really struck me is among your 7 principles, you talked about using the temples, the churches, the mosques in doing your work, and precisely in our own work in the Caritas Philippines, we are using the dioceses as our channels, no? The churches, the parishes also. No? And not only are we using them in terms of distributing the programs, but also trying to understand the context of the different areas or the different provinces that we want to help. No? Let me end by sharing something that I hope will have the same success as your work, Dr. Saqib. Last August, we started in the Caritas Philippines what we call Building Networks of Compassion, which is really a program or a set of programs that will hopefully bring about poverty alleviation. We have food security, education, family development, livelihood and employment. And together with that, social enterprise, especially focusing on the agricultural sector. And together with that, we plan to put up an Alay Kappa Stewardship Fund. No? It's what we call tithing program, but we want to go beyond the tithing program and look at it more as what you call an opportunity to create the virtuous cycle. No? Let me just wrap up and say, I think this pandemic, one of the silver linings, so to speak, of this pandemic is that it showed us beyond any reasonable doubt that there is great inequality in the world. And I think that we must try to harness all these learnings and realizations from the experiences of the last 19 months, going on 20, I think, no? To really find ways to create a new order. Your dream, Dr. Saqib, of creating a better world, a more caring world. No? And I hope that all of these we will be able to do, not just an act of charity, but really as part of a faith response. No? Because in the end, that is the only way we can be successful. This is not charity, this is a faith response. It is not even an obligation, it is a responsibility and an opportunity to live out our faith and to live out our sense of fraternity. So again, thank you very much, and I look forward to working with you, Dr. Saqib and Akhuwat, as we build our networks of compassion. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Father Tito and Ibu Rini, for those valuable insights that you've just shared. So before we proceed with the question and answer portion, I would like to give our panelists a chance to ask Dr. Saqib their own specific questions, if you have any. Ibu Rini, perhaps, if you have any. You're muted, Ibu. Please unmute yourself. Yes.
Okay. I think it's a lot, but must be left for the participants. So I just want to ask one question. I want to ask the strategy used in fundraising from donors and how to maintain donor loyalty, because in your lecture, this is not to mention about how to fundraise from the public. Thank you.
Dr. Saqib?
Yeah, Dr. Habito, I fear I didn't fully understood the question. Will you say it again? Habito, can you tell me?
If I understood it correctly, I guess Ibu Rini was saying that how you are actually been successful in the involvement of donors. Perhaps given much emphasis, but I guess you would like to see.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Ms. Rini. This is one of the difficult areas when we started this program. The entire program was based on 2 assumptions. The assumption number one, that people are willing to donate and willing to give and willing to share. And the assumption number two, that the people who get loans, they will return. They are trustworthy, they are creditworthy. So these were two basic assumptions when we started this program. But gradually at this point of time, if you allow me to say that these assumptions have attained the status of universal truths. Because a program which starts from $100 reaches $1,000 million. That means there is a continuous influx of donations. And then maintaining a recovery percentage of 99.9 is another testimony of the truthfulness of the second assumption, that people are trustworthy. So these are the two assumptions which are truths for us now. But of course, as you ask this question, it is not an easy task to convince people that they should donate for microfinance. People would like to donate for building a hospital, for building a school, for building a church, for building a mosque. But then telling them and convincing them that let's give an opportunity to the poor people to stand on their feet without, resorting to charity or begging. So this is something difficult because it has never been done, at least in Pakistan. So gradually during last 20 years, we were able to convince individual donors, religious donors, faith-inspired donors, corporations, and even the state, that you should come with this creative approach to help people with interest-free loans. And on the one side, you are not giving them, charity, you are giving them loan, which doesn't compromise their self-respect. And on the other side, you are also, you are not charging anything over and above the capital. So whatever is earned by the poor people rests with them. So this is how we, inspired the donors, that this is one of different approaches to fight against poverty. So it's a continuous struggle, continuous journey, and convincing people. Then people now see our success, alhamdulillah, and this is the manifestation of the truthfulness of our whole model. But obviously, international donor is still, not very familiar with this whole concept. They say that what is the sustainability of this program? They say that what will happen if people will stop donating? So we tell them that, giving every year is not a one-time activity. Good people give in the way of Allah, no matter Muslim, no matter Christians, no matter Jews or Hindus. So every year almost, they give something, they donate something, they help somebody. So this is a continuous fountain. We must build a system which is credible, which is transparent, which is efficiently governed. So if we are able to create a system and an institution, then it is not that difficult to convince people to donate. Thank you.
Thank you. Father Tito, you have one chance for one quick question.
More than a question, really, just to say I'm very impressed with their plan to put up the university that is, because my field really is education, Dr. Saqib. I must say that's a very impressive concept, no? The kind of university that you want to start.
Yeah, thank you very much, Father Tito. I have listened to your talk full of wisdom and full of compassion. I have gone through your profile. Thank you very much. We worked in collaboration with Caritas in Pakistan as well. So, we are extremely inspired by your kind words. Yes, university is our long-term sustainability. This is our succession plan. We are following this model, to create an impact in a larger scale and in a larger horizon. So today, the students, maybe 2,000, 10,000, 20,000. So they will be, provided an ambience, an environment where they will not only be, getting education, but they will be, a culture in the spirit of giving. So naturally, people ask me that what will happen once you will pass away from this world, and what will happen when your board members will be no more, because everybody has to leave this world one day. So what is your succession plan? So this is our succession plan, that these a critical mass of young leaders who will be, trained in giving, trained in sharing, trained in the spirit of solidarity with the have-nots, irrespective of caste, color, and creed. So seeing the entire mankind as one single family. So they will take this spirit, this message to the next level. So thank you very much for appreciating that. This is a long-term plan. How can we sustain this whole effort?
Thank you, Dr. Saqib. I share the admiration of Father Tito. Akhuwat has managed to put together a more holistic package, really. It's obviously beyond economic help. You have taken care of health, of education, basic needs, and even clothing. So really, this is what impresses me about your program at Akhuwat. Well, in fact, I think we can open the Q&A more widely. But before we proceed with the Q&A, I'd like us to first take some photographs while we have the right mood. So Dr. Saqib, panelists, everybody else, please turn on your cameras while our secretariat takes some pictures. And I'll leave it to the secretariat to direct us on this.
Thank you so much, Dr. Habito. Please give us your best smiles. We are taking a screenshot in 3, 2, 1. Another one in 3, 2, 1. Okay, thank you so much, Dr. Saqib and our panelists. Returning the Zoom to you, Dr. Habito.
Thank you so much, Kat. And thank you for this. We have something recorded for posterity in terms of photographic memorabilia. Well, so at this point, we'd like to answer some questions from our virtual audience here on the Zoom platform. And we will begin the Q&A with our invited guests from the attendees who are with us in the grid now. We would like to acknowledge RMTLI, or again, the Ramon Magsaysay Transformative Leadership Institute's Next Gen Youth Leader, Amin Hataman, founder of Project We, the Threads of Moral Stories, and Funnel, and also co-founder and president of the SEDPI Group of Social Enterprises, Mr. Vince Rapisura. May I request Amin first to throw the first question, and then followed by Vince. The spotlight is yours, Amin.
Hello, everybody. Can I be heard? Sorry.
Yes, we can hear you.
Yes. Good afternoon, everyone. Assalamu alaikum, Sir Saqib. Thank you very much for presenting and showing us the kind of good that you've been doing in your country, and it's very inspiring. I don't have much in terms of questions, though I do have a bit to share in terms of, I guess, how I felt about everything so far. My perspective comes from both sides, as Sir Shell shared earlier, from the very transactional kind of thinking that an economist has. Since I study economics currently at Ateneo de Manila, it is somehow kind of surprising to think that it's something like this that's just based on trust, based on mutual sort of support, can be kind of surprising. But at the same time, also, I am a Muslim, so I also very much understand the kind of perspective that it comes with, deciding not to charge interest due to the belief that, it's not necessarily right to have that kind of power over someone specifically because you're supposedly richer, or that if you can afford to give a loan, it's not necessarily right to have to charge the other person for that. So it's actually a very interesting kind of perspective, because I'm sort of seeing both parts of my world kind of converge in this specific aspect, because this is also something that in my home province of Basilan is also kind of being practiced, although not to the scale I think that Sir Saqib is really doing. That's why it's so admirable. So just a few things I took, a few notes. I find it very admirable, of course, that Sir Saqib shared the story of the first person that he helped. It established this sort of, it shows that it's real people that are affected by these kinds of situations, and it's real people that are really helped. And I really like the aspect of just not necessarily doing charity and allowing the people that he helps to maintain some kind of self-dignity, allowing them to just give that little push to let them get back on their feet and really improve their lives using their own strength and keeping their kind of self-dignity. And I also really like this. I want to put special emphasis on this creation of a kind of continuous community of help. I really like the fact that the people that are helped end up giving donations of their own. So it creates this cycle, as has been repeated many times. Because often when you think about things like trying to enact social change, a lot of it goes through things like donations and charity. But that's not necessarily the most sustainable way, because what happens when the charity stops or the source of the donation stops? But I really admire that what we're seeing here is a system where you empower these people, and once they're empowered, they do the same. So should the time ever come that, inshallah, it doesn't happen, of course, but should the time ever come that somehow this kind of specific organization doesn't necessarily have the ability to do this anymore, you'll have the community that has been built over generations and generations of loans and building other people up. And that kind of community of built using the principles of trust, kindness, inclusivity, equity, and mutual support systems, I really do strongly believe that that will stay long after. And I really, really admire that. And I really admire Sir Saqib. Thank you very much for what you're doing. And I hope we can somehow also do the same thing here in my home country of the Philippines. So that's pretty much it.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much. I mean, I'm extremely inspired by your kind words and seeing the whole in true perspective of a better world. In a lighter tone, with the permission of you and Dr. Habito, because you both are economists, we are trying to bring economists to the church. So we just want that we should find a combination, where everybody comes and contributes for the creation of a better world, which I have used so many times. But the point is, there is no one single way to come out of poverty. We must be entrepreneurial. We must not be judgmental. We should, learn from the people. I learned from this poor lady that she said me that if you give a loan to your brother or sister of $100, what will you take back? I said $100. So she said that I'm poor, but can't you, think me as your sister? So that was a very intriguing question. She said that if you think me as a sister, so why are you asking me to give back you $110 or $120? It is not only a faith question, it is an equity question as well. On the one side, faith prohibits, but at the same time, if a rich person goes to the bank to buy a Mercedes car, he gets a loan at a rate of 5%, 4%, 10%. But if a poor person who wants to come out of poverty, who wants to feed his family, and he is coming for a loan to us and we are charging 20%, 30% or 40%. So not only faith, but it is the question of, this equity as well. So this is an amalgamation of what we learn from our community, what we learn from our people, what we learn from conventional microfinance, and what we learn from faith. Who was the first greatest human being who challenged the moneylenders? This was the Christ. First great prophet who challenged the moneylenders was the Christ. So every religion and every ethical, paradigm or philosophy tells us that when you deal with the poor, you should deal with compassion. So this is, the learning of the past, of our traditions, from our history, from our different faiths and religions, and then integrating all these philosophies with modern strategies for poverty alleviation, linking with conventional microfinance, with technology, with cashless banking, paperless environment, and all these sustainability issues as well, because these are very important. That how will you meet your operational cost? So we have to think about it, because this is not a one-time activity. It should continue and it should be replicable. And I'm sure, as you have pointed towards that we will be very happy to share all the basic principles, the technology, the manuals, the procedures with anybody who would like to do this. And believe you me, this is truly replicable, because the two assumptions which I mentioned are, number one, people who are willing to give, and number two, people who are taking the money are willing to return. So every society has these two kinds of people. Maybe they are more in Philippines as compared to Pakistan, I'm sure. So anywhere, if these two types of people are available, and then the third dimension is some people who are willing to undertake this responsibility of creating an efficient and effective organization. So that's all. And I will be very happy to meet you once, inshallah, I will be in Philippines, and we can think together and plan together.
Inshallah, sir, that would be amazing.
Thank you. Now let me give the chance now to Vincent Rapisura. Vince, you're now in the spotlight.
Yes, thank you, Dr. Javito. And of course, a special shout out to Miss Susan. We go by her radio show always. And of course, congratulations to you, Dr. Saqib. I'm very impressed and inspired by your work in Akhuwat. And so I'm Vince Rapisura, and we implement a microfinance program in the predominantly Christian part of Mindanao, which is the northern part. So we call ourselves SEDP Group of Social Enterprises, and we started our microfinance operations in 2017 and have since grown from 2 branches to 10 branches to date. So very, very little steps. I am now 42 years old, Dr. Saqib, and I did a quick calculation. It took you 20 years since 2001 to grow from the first widow borrower to the millions of Pakistanis you are now serving. So I would be 62 years old then, and my wish is to replicate your program here in the Philippines. So I learned a lot about the workings in Islamic finance in 2019 in Dubai. So in my 2 decades of working as a consultant in microfinance, I've always done conventional microfinance. And in Dubai, I was able to confirm that how we have designed our financial products resemble that of Islamic finance more than conventional banking, which is one of the main reasons why our commercial bank creditors have a hard time understanding what we do. We implement Murabaha through joint venture agreement with our members, and SEDP uses this joint venture to emphasize that we no longer extend loans but capital to our members. We implement profit sharing and no longer charge compounding interest rates because that's really very oppressive. We follow also the principle of loss follows capital, where loans are not asked for when borrowers default, like what Akhuwat is doing. And what we have seen in the pandemic is that when we compare our performance with the conventional microfinance in terms of portfolio at risk, our performance is to their envy. And I think this is because of our pivot from adopting some of the Islamic microfinance principles. So I was very interested to learn about your lecture, and immediately I accepted the invitation of Ramon Magsaysay Awards to ask the question. No? And so I read through your documents and things written about Akhuwat. I'm very curious about your member donor program, where the borrowers themselves eventually become donors. So how is this institutionalized, and is this mandatory or voluntary? How do you transform the borrowers to become donors? I'm curious, how much do they donate? And I am also very, very curious, Dr. Saqib, how did you ever convince the government to donate to your program? That is very unthinkable to us right now. So if you could teach us how you did it, we would be very glad to listen. And lastly, your practice of takaful, the insurance practice,
we actually have that indigenous practice here in the Philippines. For the northern Philippines, we call it saranay. For the southern Philippines, we call it dayong. And for those in central Philippines, they call it, for the Tagalogs, they call it damayan. But you know, we don't have a legal framework for takaful or damayan. And the legal framework that we have now actually favors conventional banking and insurance, and now we have forgotten about damayan, and it's no longer promoted even in the cooperative sector. It's even prevented, no, and it's not even encouraged. So those are my three questions. How did you convert the borrowers to become donors? Convincing the government to donate, and the legal framework for takaful.
Yeah, thank you very much, Rabi Sura. Please forgive me if I not pronounce your name well, but thank you very much. Very incisive questions, very, questions which tell me that you are quite an expert in microfinance and know everything. In fact, your question comprised of 5 questions.
Oh!
Question number 1, you told me that you have now, you are intending to go to scale. I'm sure you will attain scale. Absolutely, there is no reason. In first 10 years, we disbursed only 1 billion Pakistani rupees. And after 15 years, we were disbursing 1 billion rupees in 1 month. And now, at this point of time, we are disbursing 2 billion rupees in 1 month. So the first years took us, first 10 years, 1 billion, and now we are giving 1 billion twice a month, every fortnight. So I'm sure you will be going far ahead and you will exceeding us, inshallah, if you continue to work with the same commitment and the devotion. Number 2, of course, during the COVID, our performance was absolutely amazing. The microfinance providers and other conventional banks, the recovery percentage came down to 40%, 50%, or 60%. But our recovery percentage remained on 99%. So the point here is that this is the success of the intense engagement with the borrower. We tell the people that we are not giving you loan. We are in fact entering into a lifelong relationship of mutual support and brotherhood. So this is another way. Third, how borrowers are being converted into donors. So this is the most simple way. You will be amazed to know that once I was sitting in my office and somebody came to me. He said that I took loan of 10,000 rupees, the same amount, around $100, and now I am earning, $1,000 or say $10 a day. So you have done something good for me. Me and my wife are always praying for your institution. Now tell us that what can we do for you? So in fact, he offered something that you have done something good with us. What can we do? So I told him that, can you become our donor? He was smiling. He said that no, donor is somebody who gives a lot of money. I said, no, if you even give $1 in month, you are a donor and you are a partner and you are building the society and you are reciprocating. So he said $1 a month is no problem for me. So when the next month he came, over and above the installment of the loan, he gave $1. He said that today I am a donor, today I am a giver. So I saw a entirely different kind of, the perspective. He was so happy. So then we started adopting this principle and started asking our donors that it is not compulsory, it is not mandatory, this is your choice. In fact, we were empowering them. So that was a process of empowerment, that while we were giving them this choice, that if they like to become a donor, they can, but we don't ask for anything. And you will be amazed to know that last financial year, which ended on 30th June 2021, our borrowers gave us around 3 million US dollars in donation. These poor people, these extremely poor people, they say somebody gave $50, somebody gave even $0.25, somebody gave $1, and even there were people who were giving more than $2 a month. So these 3 million US dollars, we put it, all this money in the revolving fund, in the fund which we have. And then this amount also started going to the poor people. So there is no coercion, there is no compulsion, this is choice, this is empowerment. This is, giving them a feeling of being a partner, not of a beneficiary, not of a recipient only, but somebody. Now they say, somebody asked them that even during the COVID, why did you pay back to Akhuwat? They said that this is our organization, this runs from our donations. So, the whole perspective has changed. Instead of being, a different kind of a relationship of a client and a customer, they thought that this is our program, which is being run by our donations. So that promotes, the loyalty to the program. So this is not compulsory, this is not coercive, this is just a choice. Third question, or rather fourth one, which you asked, that how did we convince the state? Political leadership is always in search of good ideas. They're always in search of something which works. So in Pakistan, there is a very huge program by the name of Ehsaas, which gives unconditional and conditional cash grants to the poor people. So we, engaged with the state and with the politicians and told that there is this section of society which needs grants, but a section of society which is above this, who don't want to take grants, but they want loans. So why don't you give them loan, but don't take interest, so that the entire benefits rest with them. Then there is a third category, which is more prosperous. So you can enter into a profit loss sharing basis with them. You can charge them for the services which you are providing. So that was a long dialogue of 10, 15 years, which convinced some politicians. And luckily, the current government, Prime Minister, is very convinced. And we are giving housing loans, we are giving loans to farmers, we are giving loans to entrepreneurs. It's not an easy job to convince the bureaucracy. But convincing a politician is much easier, because he believes in delivery. He doesn't believe in red tapeism. He doesn't believe in rules and regulations which constrain any big initiative. So, gradually we were able to show them. But they are amazed to see that we have disbursed so much amount, and our recovery is 99 plus, and the bank's recovery is not matching this level. So there are many other reasons. We showed the transparency. They interviewed hundreds of our borrowers. They visited different places. So they studied our model, our technology, all those different good practices. So it's an uphill task, but it is doable. It is doable. It is certainly doable. If you start inviting politicians to your program and starting an interface with your borrowers, I'm sure they will be convinced. And lastly, insurance. So that is also an optional. That is not compulsory. Anybody who wants, this insurance means that if somebody dies during the pendency of the loan, number one, death, number two, permanent disability, and number three, some unnatural loss to his business. So then he will have the opportunity, if he likes to join this takaful or insurance program, so then this amount will not be taken from her family. In case of death, it will be waived off. And this is just 1% of the entire amount. And this is optional. If they like, they can. Because we believe in consultation, participation, and empowerment. So anything which we accept some basic principles, we design in consultation with the community. So I am sure we can have a detailed discussion, a separate Zoom discussion, and I will be happy to answer most of your questions. But these are all questions very, very, very relevant. And you have made my, this question answer session more comfortable and easy, because in one question you asked 5 questions. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Well, thank you so much, Amin and Vince, for your insightful questions and comments, which drew out a lot more interesting dimensions from Dr. Saqib. And frankly, I think we'll need another lecture, Dr. Saqib, to be able to satisfy the hunger that you have from a lot of people. Indeed, there's so many questions in the Q&A, and I'm afraid, given our time, I'll probably give way to just 2. And so I will request you, Dr. Saqib, also to try to keep your answers brief, so we can accommodate both. But let me read a question coming from one of our one of our participants here. This is Arun Ameta from New Delhi, India. And this is a question for you. How can we replicate the Akhuwat model in developing the Muslim community in countries like India or Bangladesh and so on? Being a development practitioner myself, he asks, I have seen on the field the reluctance of community to join the program as interest is against their religious beliefs.
Yeah, Arun, thank you very much for asking this question. I will be even more excited, to support you in designing such a program for India, for Bangladesh, for Sri Lanka, for whatever country you like us to do. But the basic thing is, it might draw inspiration from any faith, but the program should not be confined to one faith only. It should be participative. It should be absolutely, not confined to any one single community or one single followers of single faith. So no matter wherever you can draw your inspiration from, that is your and my, sole prerogative. But when we talk of development, we should talk of participation. We should talk of inclusion. So these are my first, remarks. Then obviously we can help you. As very simply I told you that you just need people who want to give and people who want to take money and return, and you just want an intermediary. So rest are the details. If you can do all these 3 things, then we will be more than happy to provide you all the technical details, all the manuals and procedures and documents. We will be happy if you visit Pakistan, and we will be happy to send our people to you, to serve you, to design you. Because, whenever you design a program, it should be designed with the perspective of local wisdom and local genius. So the indigenous institutions, indigenous culture, indigenous traditions, and indigenous, people, they should be made part of that program, because that will ensure sustainability. So one of my mentors mentioned that you don't replicate program, you replicate people. If you have a good bunch of people, selfless, and true to the mission and willing to serve the poor, obviously there is absolutely no doubt in my mind that why will not you be successful. So we can offer all assistance, but first of all, you should try to convince yourself that you have one bunch of people willing to give, another willing to return, and then the third bunch of people who are
You're okay. Yes. Go on. Go ahead, Dr.
Just 1 minute. So, there is some energy problem here.
No. We can actually hear you.
Yes. So I was just mentioning that if you are on one side people who believe in giving, and on one side who are believing in self-respect, and then you just need few people, a group of people who are willing to become a bridge. Thank you.
Thank you, and thank you for offering your assistance. Indeed, your model is such so important. It's worth replicating everywhere it can be replicated. So indeed, perhaps that's another side side branch of what of Akhuwat that can happen in the future, the technology transfer side of it. Well, anyway, let me just recognize the fact that we have a good number of participants from Gubat University, from the Bicol University rather, Bicol University in southern Luzon of the Philippines, particularly the Gubat campus, and they are members of the Microfinance Students Organization of the Philippines. But I would like to ask just a second question coming from Mr. CJ De Dios, who's a student. Dr. Saqib, what is the one most important lesson your organization has learned about partnering with your government to meet common goals?
Okay, if you ask me to answer this question in one word, that will be consistency. Don't get disappointed. Perseverance. You know, if you have belief in your philosophy, then pursue it with the persistence and a great sense of mission. So this is all about leadership. That have a dream, first of all, then actualize your dream, and then do whatever you can to expand and take it to scale. So working with government is very difficult, absolutely no doubt. But your consistency and your belief in your own program and project, that will take you to the winning point.
Thank you so much, Dr. Saqib. I'm afraid we don't really have any more time, and there's so many questions unanswered. I hope we can probably schedule something, perhaps even less formal than today, so that those who have been hungering to ask you more could have their chance. But of course, we will try to collect the questions and send them over to you if you have the chance, you and your staff, to reply to some of them, especially if some of them are more of questions on information. But at this point, let me just try to do a very quick recap, and I can never do justice to the richness of what we've learned today from Dr. Saqib, from our panelists, and even from our questioners in the open forum. But really, I think what Akhuwat, that you, Dr. Saqib, of course, was responsible for its very inception, teaches us a lot of things about how we can help the poor. And it's more than just financial inclusion, obviously. I mean, indeed, you have made it possible to get the poor to have access to finance for their various needs in life. Often, too much of other microfinance programs are trying to focus simply on whatever livelihood it will finance. But clearly, there's a lot more the poor need money for. And you have responded precisely to a much more holistic set of needs that your so we say stakeholders in Akhuwat have approached you for. And so it's been very gratifying to learn of how we have tried to address basic needs in health, in education, in clothing even, and of course the economic assistance that comes from your faith-based lending and faith-based giving. This is a very important lesson for all of us. I think from our panelists, we saw that there are a lot of similar, very good initiatives already in place. And in fact, in Indonesia, they have their own particular brand of doing zakat and similar programs that are working well. And of course, admittedly, still have a lot to learn and perhaps adapt from the Akhuwat model. And even Father Tito's own very important work in Caritas Philippines, which is, again, helping the poor not only through financial inclusion, but also meeting their other needs, has also a lot to learn from Akhuwat. So I think it has been a very valuable discussion. And we thank you so much, Dr. Saqib, for this wonderful opportunity to learn more about how you truly deserve the Ramon Magsaysay Award. At this juncture, we would like to call on His Excellency, Dr. Imtiaz Ahmad Kazi, Pakistan's ambassador to the Philippines, to say a few words for Dr. Saqib and for all of us over here. Ambassador Kazi, we would love to hear from you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Seleto Abito. And it's a pleasure to see the distinguished panelists, distinguished speaker of today's lecture series, FS lecture series, which is titled Faith-Based Giving. Akhuwat's journey in changing lives. I had joined my civil service career in the Foreign Service of Pakistan in 1989. And I had the opportunity to visit as part of the team as a civil service candidates to northern areas of Pakistan in 1990. And I had seen a program called Aga Khan Rural Support Project. This was run by a civil servant, former civil servant like Dr. Muhammad AMJAD SAQIB, Dr. Shoaib Sultan. And today I'm glad to see that a much wider program, not in a small local, but on a global scale, that was initiated 20 years ago by Dr. AMJAD SAQIB, has made its mark and impact, and so much that it has been recognized by this prestigious entity of Ramon Magsaysay, which is in fact the Nobel Prize for the Asians. To be honest, I'm impressed, I'm emboldened, and I'm overwhelmed by this award for Dr. AMJAD SAQIB, who rightly deserves it. And I'm glad to see that he has joined the list of those 14 eminent Pakistanis, which include not only Shoaib Sultan, whose program we signed in 1990, but Madam Lutfau, the late Lutfau, Asma Jahangir, Habib Rizvi, Balkis Edi, Abdul Sattar Edi, Tasneem Siddiqui. I had seen his programs of Khuda Ki Basti in Hyderabad and other places. To share with you, I was a candidate for mid-career training promotion in 2008 in Lahore again, from Islamabad. And we had the opportunity to visit Akhuwat, which had been launched only 7 or 8 years ago. We were not well aware of its program, but today when I have seen the chronology of the developments and progress made by this Akhuwat, I'm impressed. The university, the colleges, the clothing sector, the Fajar Sara sector, health sector, microfinancing, and you name it, they are there. And not only in the context of Pakistan, but in the context of Asia, in the context of Europe, Sweden. I saw some African countries. Dr. Saab was in UN, he's in UK think tanks and some other regional capitals. I've seen him the way he has been working selflessly for this great cause of sharing, caring. The way he told his story at the start of lecture. I'm sorry I could not attend entire lecture today, but because of some prior commitments, I had a guest coming in between, but I heard parts of it. And the way he told the story of that lady who didn't accept the charity, but who wanted to do something. But this is the beginning, a small step that brought this Akhuwat. And this Akhuwat, which is actually the concept from the time of the Prophet's migration to Medina, Prophet of Islam's migration, and how everything was shared between the people under this concept of Iman, Ihsan, Ikhlas, purity, and then infaq, giving away in the name of Allah. Believe me, this is a very noble concept. And Dr. Saab, if you allow me, I can re-quote what they have said in your letter of this award. My congratulations to all the awardees, in fact, who have got this 63rd Ramon Magsaysay Award. I would like to quote the words that this has been said here about Dr. Saab. He well rightly deserves it in this, that it's an award which has all the 5 awardees, including Dr. Roberto Ballon, Stephen Muncy, Madam Firdausi Qadri, and the Watchdog Indonesia. I congratulate you on this occasion. I look forward to be part of the actual prize distribution series when it is held. And we wish to see Dr. Saab more. In fact, I wish that he's personally here at the time of real distribution of this award. And I would like to meet him to learn from him. And we are proud of you, Dr. AMJAD SAQIB Sahib, in Asia, on the global scale, in Pakistan, and we wish you all the best in your contributions. And I wish the foundation of Ramon Magsaysay all the best. In fact, I had a very useful online meeting with Madam Susan, the president, and Ms. Isai Nadalo and other colleagues of the foundation. I look forward to visit them. I'm trying to see if we can chip in to have Pakistan's culture, our own corner in that institute, in that foundation, so that we can more closely interact on mutually beneficial ventures. And we look forward to their award distribution ceremony sometime in November. Dr. Saab, I will be following up your lectures, some of them, as much as I can spare my time. But believe us, it's indeed a pleasure for us, an honor for us, and a pride for us, all Pakistanis, that you have mentioned, you have come with such a big mark on this Akhuwat Foundation. We wish you all the best at this. I thank you, Mr. Abito, again, for giving me this opportunity. And I'm looking forward to my other lecture, for which I'm going to enroll on 17th of November, probably, by Mr. Mansi, for the peacekeeping lecture. So most of the important lectures of my relevance and interest, I would certainly be part as a participant in your lectures. I would request you, please don't call me for these final words. I would like to be an ordinary participant sitting on the sidelines and attending important lectures. That's a request, but it's always a prayer to be with you. Thank you so much again, everyone.
Yeah, thank you very much. Just a few sentences, if you allow me. Your Excellency, Dr. AMJAD SAQIB, I'm extremely grateful and truly appreciate your kind words and your generous remarks. Yes, of course, the honor is not mine only. This belongs to every Pakistani, because Akhuwat means every Pakistani. So these are the thousands and the millions of the people who have contributed either in giving or in taking loans. They are all Akhuwat. Thank you very much for your kind words, and inshallah, I will be visiting you as well when I come to see Susan Afan and Dr. Habito and at the end of the November. And we will surely be doing our best to come up to their expectations and to take the spirit of late President Ramon Magsaysay and make this world a happy place to live in for everybody. Thank you very much. My personal regards to Dr. AMJAD. I'm extremely grateful.
There you go. Ladies and gentlemen, our first lecture by Dr. AMJAD SAQIB. And I just wanted to thank the Ambassador Kazi, for your very warm remarks. I think this is just the beginning of even stronger ties with Pakistan, which is just such an added bonus to what we're doing here at the Ramon Magsaysay Foundation. So thank you. And yes, we won't let go of you now that we've met you. You will be part and parcel of everything that we do.
My pleasure.
There you go. And I also wanted to thank profusely our moderator, of course, Dr. Shell Habito, for doing such a phenomenal job in facilitating our first lecture for 2021. Shell, thank you. Maraming salamat. And with us as well this afternoon, some of our other board of our trustees, our esteemed board of trustees, was able to join us. We're so happy. We have the chairman of the board, Mr. Gigi Montinola, Ms. Cheche Lazaro, and Mr. Ernie Garilao, that has also joined our squares here, our panelist square. Cheche, Gigi, Ernie, thank you so much for gracing us with your presence. Also, we have other former awardees, Mr. Ernesto Domingo, Ms. Laila de Lima, Mr. Jaime Aristotle Alip, and Ambassador Howard D. Of course, Mr. Stephen Mansi, who are also with us this afternoon. Thank you so much for joining us. Also, Father Tito Kaluwag, thank you. Rini, so nice to see you again. Vince, this is not the end, Vince. We will do a lot more work together. The board of, all the other laureates, Mr. Shokut Tarin, His Excellency Ambassador Daniel Espiritu, the board of directors of Akhuwat, Mr. Majidi, Mr. Juani, and Mr. Wibowo. Thank you so much for joining us this afternoon. And of course, lastly, this webinar would not have been possible without the commitment, the passion of our 2021 Ramon Magsaysay awardee, Dr. Mohammed AMJAD SAQIB. You inspire us with your greatness of spirit, with your solutions, and your immeasurable generosity in sharing your solutions to the rest of Asia. Thank you, Dr. SAQIB and the Akhuwat team. With that, we say good afternoon, and maybe we can just have one other picture because we have some other board of trustees that joined us, and the ambassador is here, and we would love to take one more picture. So, Kat?
Okay, give us your best smiles, please, and please look at your cameras. We're taking a screenshot in 3, 2, 1. And another one, 3, 2, 1. Thank you so much, everyone.
Okay, and so we'll see you in our next lecture. The next lecture will be, Kat, that will be in mid-October, right? And that's for Kadodoy Balyon.
Yes, Miss Susan, that's correct.
Okay, so we'll see you all. Please like us and follow us on Facebook and our website, because all the other information will be there. Thank you so much for joining us. Bye-bye.
Again, we would like to thank Dr. Saqib and the wonderful team of Akhuwat who has made all these possible. Michelle Athar, Janur Sandu, Fiza Zahir, Afrin Lashari, and Aziza Ilyas. If you want to know more about Akhuwat, you may also visit their website. Just type akhuwat.org.pk for more info. The webinar evaluation form will be posted in the chat box and live stream comment section after the event. Please note that certificates will only be sent to participants who have answered the online evaluation form. The Ramon Magsaysay Award Foundation has a lot in store for everyone from October to November. The lectures of the 21 laureates are spread out through those months. To be updated with all our activities, we invite everyone to follow the Ramon Magsaysay Award on social media. You will find us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn, and YouTube. Thank you again for joining us.